Hey guys, what is going on? So if you guys saw my 5-year anniversary video, you guys will know that I have 3 videos coming out this month, this being the first of the 3. So if you guys couldn't tell by the title of this video, I'm going to share with you guys my top 10 favorite horror games of all time. Now, before I go into this list, I want to set some ground rules here. These are the games I loved the very most within the horror genre. I haven't played every single horror game that has ever come out. These are the games that I have played and the ones that truly have scared the living shit out of me. Now, unlike my other top 10s I usually do, I actually do not have any honorable mention. So anyways, without any further ado, let's get into the top 10 games that scared me the very most. Shall we begin?
Number 10.
Starting off the top 10, we have Slender, the 8 Pages. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with Slender, there's not really a story to it. You're just in a location in the woods trying to collect 8 pages, and while you're doing so, you're being chased by a thing called Slender, that it's an all-white figure dressed in a tux, I kid you not, that has these long arms that's trying to kill you while you're trying to collect these 8 pages. Now, the thing I love about this game is that it's very restrained in terms of its horror and the jump scares as well. This game uses its jump scares very well. So basically, you're going around this woods area trying to find these landmarks where these pages are, and the more pages you collect, the more music that you get. And the first page that you get, you hear this burn. And then the more pages you collect, the more creepy the music gets. And then if you turn around just enough, you hear this little thing in your ear. And then if you turn around just enough after you get more pages, the jump scares ensue. If you have not played Slender, it's a free-to-play game. You can find it anywhere. Literally, just type in Slender the 8 Pages, and it's a free download. It works with Macs and PCs. If you guys have not played Slender, please play it. It's really good. It's better than Slender the Arrival by a long shot. But for those of you just looking for a quick, a quick fix for a game to play at night, this is it. So that's why Slender, number 10.
Number 9.
Coming in number 9 is a game I actually started playing very recently, and it scared me so much that I actually teared up because just of how terrifyingly suspense and spooky, and it's how psychologically well done this game is. But that game is Dungeon Nightmares 2. This is a game on Steam, and if you guys have not played this game, and if you're horror junkies like I am, check this game out now. If I could describe Dungeon Nightmares 2 in a nutshell, it's the games Vanish and Silent Hill 2, or any of the Silent Hill games really in a nutshell. Now, if you guys aren't aware of Vanish, it's a game where you're in a maze, and as you keep going through the maze, it constantly chases around you while there's a thing chasing you. Now, put Silent Hill's psychological horror aspect of that and mix that with the maze, and that's what you get with Dungeon Nightmares 2. We wake up in a hotel, and it's a really freaky hotel. It's something out of The Shining, I swear to God. You have to, unlock all these rooms, but in order to do that, you need to go down to this dungeon and search for these keys. And while you're in this dungeon, it starts off, the scares are very restrained, but as you keep going on, the scares just keep building and building. The anxiety and the tension just does not stop. And if you're looking for an indie game, this game is really, I think, like $5 on Steam. It's like $5 to $10 on Steam. This is one for you, and this game scared the living hell out of me, hence why it's on the list.
Number 8.
Coming at number 8 is probably the scariest chase game I have ever played, and I mean ever played, and that is Outlast. This game, every gamer that has ever played a survival horror game or just a horror game in general knows about Outlast. But basically, it starts off as a reporter that goes into this insane asylum, and the deeper that you go into this thing, you realize that this investigation is a lot more creepier and way more spiritual as we thought it was. For some reason, after I saw Don't Breathe, I applied what they did in Don't Breathe to Outlast, and made the game way scary. But what really makes this game scary is the fact that there are no weapons, and that your only sense of defense is to run like hell and maybe block a door if you can, because those monsters, once you go in those chase sequences, will not stop hunting you down. But if you're looking for a chase game specifically, Outlast is that game, and that is why Outlast is my number 8.
Number 7.
Coming in number 7 is probably the second most popular indie game on this list. Yes, there is one more indie game on the list after this, and that is it for the indie games. But anyways, coming in number 7 is Amnesia: The Dark Descent. This game is easily one of the scariest psychological horror games I've ever played. I'm still playing it currently right now. We're going to this castle, and along the way you're trying to avoid these freaking things. Not only can you die in one hit and the fact that this is a chase game, but it combines hard difficulty with psychological horror along with chase sequences. And the sound design in this game is utterly terrifying, but not nearly as terrifying as the other games on this list. I know you guys are saying, why'd you put it on the list if you haven't beaten it? The reason I put it on this list is because this game has scared the shit out of me every time I've played it. I'm trying to beat it right now. I think I'm about halfway through the game as of this video is released. And also has a very immersive story to it. If you like horror games with a great psychological horror story to it, check this one out because this is up your valley. And that is why Amnesia is my number 7.
Number 6.
Coming in number 6, we move away from indie territory and mainstream territory, and we go to browser game territory. This is the only browser game that has stayed with me ever since I played it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but if you are, you guys are amazing. Coming in number 6 is a game called Mortis. Mortis is a psychological horror point-and-click game. This game puts the best of point-and-click horror with psychological horror with blood and gore, and it does it in the best way possible. But the game starts off as you wake up in the woods, it's freezing, and the only house in your vicinity is this creepy white house, and as soon as you get in there, you realize that you are there for a reason. But the scares in this game, oh my god, I still remember to this day, the first time I played this game, you go into this one room, and you find this little door area, and if you click it, you hear this really scary and frightening disembodied voices, or these disembodied voices, and as soon as I heard these voices the first time, playing this game for the first time, I clicked out of it immediately, and I could not sleep that night. And it was so cool in fact that there were 2 more games made. The other 2 games sadly aren't as scary as this one, but this game is frightening, and it's very old too, and surprisingly to this day, I'm not even kidding, I always get chills every time I hear the disembodied voices in this game. Apparently enough, the voice recordings in this game were gotten from actual EMP recordings. How freaky is that? The sound design and also the visual design of the game is horrifying to another degree, and the final chase sequence near the end, oh, if you're looking for a point-and-click horror game, this is it. And that's why Mortis, the first one, is my number 6.
Number 5.
Alright guys, here we go, the top 5. You guys know that these games in particular gave me nightmares. This franchise in particular, if you have never heard of this franchise, I will be wondering if you guys have been living under a rock for the past 20 years or so. I think that this franchise has been around, but anyways, 5 is Doom 3. Doom started off as just this first-person shooter franchise that was just going around shooting demons. Doom 3, however, took that genre and went to the survival horror genre, and it's actually, from what I've been hearing, a prequel to the first Doom. Again, like Amnesia, this is another game I have not beaten yet, although I have Doom 3 on my Xbox. It's playable on the Xbox 360, and I have it on my Mac, so that tells you guys how much I love Doom 3. The bosses in Doom 3 are quite scary, and there's some really well done jump scares in this game, and also its emphasis on sound design. If you guys haven't played Doom 3, and if you're horror fans, please check it out. It's really quite scary, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna play it on Halloween this year. But yeah, anyways, Doom 3 gets the top 5 spot as number 5.
Number 4.
Alright, coming in number 4, we are venturing back into indie game territory, and this is by far the most terrifying indie game I've ever played in my life, and that is Five Nights at Freddys 2. Five Nights at Freddys, the first one, was very scary. It was a very simple game. What makes Five Nights at Freddys 2 for me even more frightening than any of the other ones out there. I mean, 3 was okay, but I personally feel like it was the weakest one. 4 was a little bit more of a return to form, but 2, it was mainly because the stress it puts on you to keep everything going. Not to mention, you don't have the music box, then you have to keep flashing your flashlight down the hallway. You also have to go through the vents and make sure that no one keeps coming through. So adding all that pressure together, the anxiety coming in as you're trying to survive all 5 nights, and also again, just like the first one, the sound design in the game, you're hearing the laughing children, you're hearing the laughs of Bloom Boy, you're hearing the radio sounds from Mangle. It's just everything just cranks up the intensity, and like I said, anxiety to 11. It's just, oh my god, it's this is without a doubt the scariest independent game I've ever played. That's why it's reached the top 5 spot of number 4. Coming on number 3 is our first and only venture into space. It's in the title of the game, you guys should already know this. Number 3 is Dead Space. I remember playing the demo of this game when it first came out, and it scared the living hell out of me. And playing the game itself, this is the type of game that you need to play in the dark, along with my number 1. Dead Space is the type of game you play at home in total darkness with great headphones. But not only that, Dead Space is just a visually gorgeous game. Necromorphs. In order to kill these things, you had to take off all their limbs before getting one final headshot. And it brings back that zombie strategy, but here's the thing. Of course, adding to that strategy. I don't think it was a boss fight, but I remember going through this one corridor. It was very dimly lit, having that alien-like feel to it, and this one just popped out of nowhere, and oof, one of the best jump scares I have ever encountered in a video game, well, besides my number 1 game on here. If you like survival horror games, and if you like space games, aliens especially, this is right up your valley. So Dead Space, number trace.
Number 2.
Coming at number 2, as with my number 5, if you guys have never heard of this franchise, and if you're horror fans of the survival horror genre, it is the Resident Evil franchise. And which one do you say? Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is my personal favorite game. I cannot wait for Resident Evil 7. I've played that demo constantly. It reinvented the survival horror genre for Resident Evil by putting it more of an action spin, but it still retained the horror aspect of it, especially when it got to the one castle level. Oh my god. The Resident Evil games were always known as these cheesy B-movie type of games, where this one kind of took a step away from that. I mean, Leon still has his one-liners here and there, but this game is highly addicting, it's highly replayable. I think I've replayed Resident Evil 4 at least, good lord, close to 7 times, I want to think. All the boss fights are awesome. You fight the chainsaw guy. Oh my god, when you see his eyes just go wide and he chases after you. Oh, what made it so scary is that you're constantly going through ammo. Even when you think you're safe, you're not really safe at all, because at any moment you could be running out of ammo and you could be like, crap, all I have is this crappy knife and maybe a flash grenade. It's one of the greatest third-person shooters of all time. It's one of the greatest survival horror games of all time. It's what reinvented the survival horror genre by placing it more in an action perspective, but it also was kind of the downfall because Resident Evil 5 wasn't that great. Fun action game, but scares wise, no, it wasn't. It won Game of the Year awards for a reason. It was an amazing game. I had it on the GameCube, I had it on the PS2, I had it on the Wii, I have it on the Xbox 360, and I want to get it for the PS4. That's how good this game is. Now, if you're wondering why this didn't make the number 1, there is simply one game that did it all for me.
It's number 1.
Alright guys, it has come down to this. The scariest game I've ever played. This is the one game that not only stuck with me ever since I played it, but it just did something to me that none of these games ever did. Just like Resident Evil, or just like Doom, this franchise is well known of its sound design, and not to mention its use of psychological horror, which is my personal favorite subgenre within the horror genre. So my number 1 favorite horror game of all time goes to Silent Hill 2. Words cannot describe how much not only did this game scare the ever-living out of me, but how much I absolutely adore this game. The Silent Hill franchise has always been known for their sound design, and mainly because of the radio. Every time that radio went off, I was always on the edge of my seat. What makes the actual town scary, not just because of the fog, but you do not know what you're getting yourself into when it comes to the actual town itself, because what is in that fog is even scarier. The creature design in Silent Hill 2 is horrifyingly good. I don't know how these guys did it, but they did it. I did jump and I did scream because of that pyramid head. Oh my god, that thing as well. This game has done one thing for me that no other game has done, and that has had an afterburn, and I'll explain that. The same night that jump scare happened, I had school the next morning. It was maybe like 1:32 in the morning, and I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, that's very smart on my part. So I tried to go to bed, I tried to go to sleep, but the thing is, somehow, I don't know how this happened, but the ambience from the game directly matched the ambiance of outside of where I lived, and it affected me so much that I could not go to sleep because I was afraid that something was in my bedroom. But there is one thing I have always loved within the horror genre, and that is the fear of the unknown. And Silent Hill 2 makes perfect use of that concept to its full potential. I love it so much that I'm going to replay it again. I'm gonna replay it. Maybe I'll stream it for you guys. Who knows? With all that said, yeah, Silent Hill 2 is without a doubt the most horrifying game I've ever played in my life. And if you guys have never played Silent Hill 2, and if you're horror fans, play it immediately. And that concludes my 10 favorite horror games of all time. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed my top 10 favorite horror games of all time. Comment, let me know below what are your favorite ones. If you enjoyed this top 10, please like and share this video. Click right here, and as always, until the next top 10 or whatever, or video, yeah, I'll see you guys next time.